Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to Pretty to Play with me, Pretty. Thank you for joining. Today, I'm speaking about something that is loved universally, that is loved by everybody. I'm speaking about food. Yes, I want to speak about food all over the world, countries that I've been to. So, come along, and join in the conversation. Thank you for joining Putting on a Pain once again. Today I want to speak about something I love, a lot of us love, most people I know love. So today we're going to speak about food. See, one of my favorite things about traveling is eating. The things I love about traveling the most, other than just exploring culture and getting to know the people, exploring the place, the culture, the history, all the art that comes with different places, is the food. I think so much of the culture and the history is actually embedded in food. Food has a way of connecting people from different parts of the world in a way nothing else can. And I think when you get to a place and you get to enjoy the food that they do, enjoy what they eat on a daily, then you get to connect with them in a way that you can't really connect without getting into that space, into their space, getting into their kitchen essentially. So today I want to speak about my favorite food. So top 10 favorite meals, food item, dishes that I've had in the world. I've been to 23 countries. Um, and if you want to count the UK into different parts, it's 24. If Scotland counts as a separate country, then it's 24. But let's stick to 23. Of the 23 countries, everywhere I go, I make sure I get the local cuisine and I make sure that I just immerse myself in what the people they eat. I want to eat what the locals eat because it's the best food. You're not gonna get the best food by going to like a food chain that's international, an American food chain all over the world. Though, side note, I like going to McDonald's in different places. McDonald's has like really interesting meals that they adapt to every region. So it's quite cool going to different McDonald's in different parts of the world. So I kind of like doing that. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on that. Yeah, let me know in the comments. If you want to hear about the different McDonald's in different parts of the world that I've experienced, let me know in the comments. So, one of my most favorite food that I've ever had in the world has to be a Thai curry that I had in Thailand. See, I've always liked Asian food. I've always liked the Asian flavors, the galangal, the soy sauce, the lemongrass, all those sweet savory flavors that comes with Asian food. I've always enjoyed that. Then I went to Thailand and oh goodness, I experienced a whole other level of explosion of flavor in your mouth. Like until you've had a Thai curry from Thailand, you can't say you actually have had Thai food. I've had a pad Thai before, also before I went to Thailand, and once I got to Thailand, I actually had a pad Thai. It was never the same. Game was changed completely. So top. I think so. These are not in any order, by the way. This is just some of the top 10. But number one has to definitely be a Thai curry from Thailand. It has that sweet notes of the coconut milk. It has the spicy element of the chili that is kicking in, chili pepper that is kicking in, and you can taste the lemongrass. You can taste the galangal. Oh my word, take me back. Still in Asia, number two has to be Indonesia. In Indonesia, when I went to Bali. Obviously, everybody and their cousin goes to Bali. I went to Bali. Amazing experience, amazing beaches, amazing food. I had a beef rendang. What I did is I got to experience it in two different ways. I went to like a proper restaurant, proper sit down restaurant where it was all done up nicely and I had it from there. And then I went to the street as well to get the same experience. I was very careful to not get Bali belly. If you've been to Bali, you've been warned about Bali belly. The risk of you just getting sick from eating street food, but listen, it's very worth the experience. I think maybe the thrill of getting sick while eating also adds to it, but definitely eating on the streets of Indonesia, Bali, man, the beef rendang was really amazing. Side note, McDonald's also has a beef rendang burger, which I had. Quite interesting, not great, but quite interesting. The third one, yeah, I guess I'm doing it according to continents, in China. So I went to China. I went to Chengdu, which is smack dab sort of in the middle of China. So I went to the Sichuan district. I went to Chengdu, and the home of the panda. It was amazing. There was pandas everywhere. I went to the panda sanctuary. I got to see baby pandas. It was really, really cute. But the highlight of it is food that is cooked in Sichuan pepper spice. So Sichuan pepper has this hot heat that sort of numbs your mouth, but not in a bad way, not in an under anesthesia bad like numbness, but like not an getting surgery type of numbness, no, but it's like numb in a very pleasant way. So I actually got to witness noodles being made live for the first time ever in my life. It was so breathtaking to actually see how noodles are made. I mean, I've always eaten noodles, but to actually get to see them making noodles from scratch in front of me, it's really amazing. So went to like a small time restaurant, none of the chain stuff, local restaurant. Pretty much nobody speaks English. You just get there and point at the menu what you want because they have pictures for everything, and you get the best bowl of noodles ever. And the beauty of it is like costs next to nothing. So yeah, noodles freshly made in Chengdu was definitely the highlight. One thing I absolutely also loved, this is not part of the top 10, but I think it's also quite up there, hot pot. So when you go to the Sichuan district or to Chengdu, one of the things that's an absolute highlight is having the hot pot. So a hot pot is essentially a bunch of people getting together. You pick whatever you want to in your hot pot, and you have one side that is hot oil with all these spices, and the other side is like water, like broth going with like different spices, and you get to cook your own food to your own temperature and your own combinations. It is amazing. Before I went to China, a friend of mine who had been to China before was like the worst experience she had was the food, and I was so worried that I was gonna starve when I got to China. But man, Chinese food was amazing. I could go on, but definitely the noodles being made in front of me, that was like top notch. The next thing on my list is Zanzibar. So Zanzibar is really amazing, right? Zanzibar is like a combination of cultures. It has a mix of the traditional African, original African Tanganyika people, and at some point Zanzibar was a stop point for the slave trade, for the East African slave trade, that is. So there was the Oman period where the Oman ruled Zanzibar, and because of that it has a lot of those type of influences, the Arab influences. So in the cooking as well, there's a lot of like spiciness in the food that they cook. I think one of the best things I ate was the biryani as well. I had this amazing biryani in Zanzibar. I would not have expected to have such amazing biryani. Coming from South Africa, biryani is quite big here because we have such a big Indian community in South Africa. So because we have such good biryanis here in South Africa, I didn't think that I would have such a good biryani somewhere in Africa. I thought I'd had to go to like India to actually have that type of experience. But the biryani I had was really amazing. But one thing that really stands out for me is something they call chips maye. Chips maye is essentially a street food they have in Zanzibar, which is very similar to a Spanish omelette, where it's chips and eggs. Maye is eggs. So it's chips and egg omelette, and it is delicious. It's very simple, but it's so good, and they have it with the tomato salsa that is just amazing, really good. And of course, when you're in Zanzibar, you have to try the Zanzibar pizza, which is not the pizza that you would have had in traditional sense, but two street food to try: Zanzibar pizza, chips maye up there, but biryani definitely. Next thing was in Spain. When we were going to Spain, I went to Valencia, and of course you can't go to Valencia without having paella. Paella is originated in Valencia. So obviously when you go to Valencia, you have to have paella. And we went to a beautiful restaurant on the dock on the water, and we had paella. Oh my goodness. I have never had such beautiful paella in my life. To this day, I try to have paella at different places to try emulate the taste. But listen, I have never gotten anywhere close to getting that taste right. But the paella from Spain was amazing, top notch, beautiful. That story when we were in Spain as well, in Valencia, we rode bikes to go get churros. Of course, you can't go to Spain and not have churros or horchata. So we drove, we drove bikes from the little village we were staying in Valencia to go find churros. But guess what? We got lost. By the time we got to the place where the churros were sold, they were actually about to close because churros are a breakfast thing. The place was closing, churros were almost out. We got to have cold churros because they felt so sorry for us because we rode bikes all the way from another village. But anyway, needless to say, the churros were still worth it, and at a later stage, I still got to have proper churros. Next thing is in Scotland. I know I never would have associated like Britain, no offense to anyone, but I never would have associated Britain with good food. But anyway, our in Scotland, town outside of Glasgow called East Kilbride, there's a restaurant where they have this chocolate cake that is the Galaxy chocolate cake. Oh my goodness, Galaxy chocolate cake, and I asked for it to be served with warm custard. Listen, I'm lactose intolerant, but I risked it all. And it was totally worth the risk. It was really amazing. It is probably the best chocolate cake I've ever eaten in my life. And if I never go back to Scotland for anything else, that cake is definitely what I would go back for. The next thing is having prawns in Mozambique. Mozambique is this coastal town right northeast of South Africa. Right on the northeast corner of South Africa, there's Mozambique, Indian Ocean, warm waters. It's really beautiful. But the prawns that you have from Mozambique, go to the restaurant, they give you like an entire tray of just prawns on it, and you get to have all these. So Mozambique was colonized by the Portuguese, so they speak Portuguese, but they have all these Portuguese flavors in their food as well. So you have like prawns that have like these Portuguese flavors in them. Ooh, absolutely to die for. I'll go back to Mozambique right now for those prawns. The next thing, New York City is known for pizza. A lot of people, when you think of New York City and you think food, people will think pizza. But I think hot dogs also are like second to what people speak about when they think New York City. But I'm telling you, I had the best hot dog I've ever eaten in New York City, and it was really cheap. I think for about $5 you get like two hot dogs and a drink, and it was really amazing. It really is the best cheap food I've ever eaten. Well, some of the best cheap food I've ever eaten. I'm just going to mention the name. The hot dog place is called Grace Papaya in New York. It's totally worth it. Absolutely worth the visit. So yeah, that hot dog, man, that hot dog was probably the best. And the last thing that's absolutely top of my list is France. France has like all sorts of amazing pastries and baked goodies, if you will. I had these really huge macarons, and I absolutely love macarons to this day. I go on macaron hunts all the time, but I had like really amazing macarons in Paris. But the one thing that's an absolute highlight is moules frites. Moules frites is mussels and fries, mussels and chips, and they serve it in like a little pot with the mussel broth in the, and they have like the chips on the side. Oh my gosh, mille frites is definitely a highlight of me visiting Paris. And yeah, that makes up the end of my favorite food to eat all over the world. I think a special mention, it's not all over the world, but a special mention is definitely South Africa. We have some of the best food. I'm biased, I know, but we have some of the best food in the world. All the way from braai meat to boichikos to kota to a Gatsby to chakalaka, dumpling, and lamb stew. We have some of the best food in the world, honestly. So I think if I was to mention my two favorite food in South Africa, not the most healthiest, but definitely vetkoek and mince, ooh, always hit the spot, and a good kota. So a kota, to those who don't know in the world, is literally quarter loaf of bread that is hollowed out and filled with chips and all sorts of different types of fillings. In Pretoria, where I'm from, we call it spatlo, and honestly, it's probably one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. It is one of the things I'll always go back to regardless of where I come from in the world. And that brings us to the end of the food. This is me and the food that I love in the world. Do the right thing. Comment below. Let me know what is your favorite food from your country or your part of the world, something that you absolutely love eating all the time. Like this video if you like this type of content. Like this video, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Pretty on a Plane so we can grow the channel. Thank you for joining Pretty on a Plane. Love it.